Who here, by a show of hands, knows someone who struggles with their mental health, or you yourself have had mental health struggles? Basically everyone in the room. Who here has also, in part with that mental health struggle, feel like their mental health struggle was directly influenced by school? Most of the room too, okay. Today I'm going to be talking about mental health in school systems, specifically looking at middle and high school education, but also some of these principles apply to higher education and elementary school education as well. I'm qualified to speak on this subject because I myself attended high school and middle school for many years. I'm a psychology major and I specialize and am studying the mental health of young people. So let's begin. Today I will be covering a brief history of schools in the US and how our school systems were founded. I will also be going over the negative impact on mental health and diving into some of the statistics and why our current school paradigm is leading to negative mental health. And I will also be diving into what change might look like going forward. To start, our school systems were founded over 100 years ago, mainly by this man. At the very least, the paradigm for which we have built our school systems have been founded by John D. Rockefeller, one of the richest men in the world at his time, who famously said, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers." Our modern day school systems were founded on these principles from over 100 years ago, and we largely teach students the same way and cater to the same learning style that we did from over 100 years ago. This was during a time where John D. Rockefeller was trying to fill up his corporations with factory workers and people who were obedient and not free-thinking, creative individuals. It is a time that is far different than the time that we live in today with evolution in technology and culture. This is an image of a school system from 100 years ago and an image of school today. As you can see, despite maybe a few changes with computers and iPads and things like that, we are largely teaching school the exact same way. It is a system of memorization and regurgitation, and the better that you can memorize facts and regurgitate them onto a test, the better you will do in school to get a letter grade, to get a job where you do more repetitive tasks instead of thinking for yourself and living a creative and fulfilled life. Despite the evolution that we've seen in cars, cities, technologies, which look nothing like they did 100 years ago, our school systems look almost exactly the same, and it is contributing to students' mental health in a very negative way. Like I said, our school systems are built on a system of memory and regurgitation, meaning that if you have excellent memory and can quickly memorize and cram facts the night before a test and regurgitate them onto that test or onto that homework assignment, you will do well. However, if you are like myself and you have an alternative learning style, or you have ADHD or something else, you might get left behind in this current system. This is a system that was built to create people to excel at repetitive tasks and not think freely for themselves. This is not what real integrative learning looks like. Real integrative learning is not just quickly regurgitating things onto a test and then forgetting those ideas 2 weeks later, but it's integrating them into your life. Here are some statistics behind the struggle and how this paradigm is leading to negative mental health in young people. In 2021, according to the CDC, almost 42% of high school students in the US reported feeling sad or even hopeless, which is a significant jump from previous years. 18% of high school students have considered attempting suicide, and 9% have actively tried at least once, which is close to 1 out of every 10 people in high school systems. Only 55% of public schools offer diagnostic mental health assessments, and even fewer provide treatment. Just over half of the schools have a full-time counselor, and even fewer can afford psychologists or social workers. Almost 40% of parents say that their high schooler is experiencing a lot of stress from school, according to the NPR, and homework was a leading cause of this stress, with 24% of parents saying it's an issue. From my personal experience at my high school back in New England, I knew 12 students in my 4 years who committed suicide. That is staggeringly high. Because of school-related stress, I myself struggled with panic attacks. I felt like I was falling behind. My school often marketed all around that 99% of students went on to higher education, but what it didn't market was that my school had the highest rate of suicide in New England. Teachers at my high school eventually went on strike because of the lack of mental health care, and school was completely off for my younger brothers back home for about 3 months. Personally, after graduating high school, I felt underprepared for the real world. As I like to joke with my parents, I was taught more about King Tut and algebra than how to care for my well-being, sign a rental lease, or manage my finances. We also have to look at the diversity of learning styles within school systems and be able to tailor to those unique learning styles. School systems tailor right now to one type of learner. If you can cram study and memorize facts, you can get A's. However, if you have an alternative learning style, such as myself, have ADHD, dyslexia, or any other such phenomenon, it's easy to get left behind. Today, we see brilliant inventors, athletes, artists who did poorly in school because they learned and saw the world in a different way, but still went on to succeed outside of the classroom. We need school systems that tailor to this diversity. School systems that tailor to and see each kid as unique, different, and possessing different talents and gifts. We need to realize that we don't all learn the same way, and we each carry unique talents. And we also need to remember that our worth and potential isn't about what grade that we get on a test. Now that we've covered the issues and the foundation of school systems and modern school systems, let's dive into some alternatives as well as some of my personal experience with alternative learning systems. School as a blueprint is a fantastic idea. I'm not against school. School itself is a place where people can go, be amongst their peers, learn things, and learn from people who have had a lot of experience in a given area. That is a fantastic idea. The issue is the execution. The execution is really poor. The notion of kids getting educated and experiencing joy is wonderful. And the best class that I ever had was actually here at the City College. I highly recommend taking Dr. Spencer Sherman's psychology class. He has very little homework, no standardized tests, and yet I was going to that class for the full 3 hours and staying an hour after just to talk to him because of how passionate and engaged he was. And I felt like I learned more in that class than any other class that I'd ever taken. There are also some other emerging alternatives from around the world. Finland's school systems have little to no homework or standardized tests, and their students actually perform better mathematically as opposed to the US. The US is not in the top 10% or top 10 school systems globally, and Finland's is. Shorter school days allow students more time to explore extracurricular activities, which help decrease burnout, and it gives students a more holistic education. Also, more mental health and support in school systems allows students to feel supported instead of judged by what letter grade that they achieve. In short, Finland is proving that less may actually be more. In conclusion, that's a photo of me on my first day of kindergarten. School is a great idea. It's an amazing idea, but it's being poorly executed. We must acknowledge that the mental health struggles of teens and young adults is very real, and it is growing rapidly. We must upgrade our educational style to prepare students for a world that is very, very different than it used to be. And by implementing this change, we can have a major impact on the mental health and well-being of students. We must remember that the whole point of school is to create happy and healthy human beings, not just to achieve diplomas or good grades. Thank you.